So I've had a bit of time to go over this and figure things out, and just wanted to go over the wiring that I have done. So wiring up the controller to the motor and the battery, I just have a T-plug both on the battery and over here that will plug it in. For the controller to the motor, you can just see I've aligned the colors. That's something that actually is going to have to change, and I'll go over that after I show you it running. The other thing that I did was this electric lock that's basically kind of like the ignition for it. I just wired up a little short for it that basically all it does is it closes this circuit. Without that circuit closed, the motor won't run. So you could hook it up to a key. I do have a key to hook it up to eventually, but just for testing's sake, I just shorted that connection. The Hall connector, because I got the motor with the controller, the Hall sensors were basically already wired up. All I had to do was connect that. That is going to have to change again for the same reason that I'll go over with in a little bit. Throttle, you can see that the colors didn't match up perfectly. Did a little bit of guesstimating for this and just did red to red, black to black, and then assumed that the other one was like a signal wire of some kind, so wired those up together, which was correct. The other one that I had to do a little bit of testing on was the 3-speed connector. You can see that these colors don't line up at all. The only color that they have in common is black, but the black isn't wired up to the black. For this, I basically just did testing where I plugged them in individually to figure out what was what here, and I'll show you that running here in a second. So I'm going to plug in the battery. It is probably going to spark here, so just... So with the battery connected, I have the 3-speed in position 1. Again, the ignition is shorted out. See how fast it goes. When I go into position 2, and then when I go into position 3. And that is not working properly. And something had gotten loose there, so I just paused the video for a second. You can see where I've got these connected now. Again, they still don't match up, but I have the black to the yellow, green to the black, and the red to the blue. When I have it in position 1, that's how fast the engine goes. When I move it up into position 2, faster. Now both position 2 and position 3, no matter what configuration I put the wires in, the high speed, there basically seems to be one low speed and 2 high speeds, and I've seen other people on YouTube getting similar results. The only thing I can think of is that maybe there's a little bit more torque in one of them that I won't find until there's some resistance on the motor, but for that we'll just have to wait and see. Oh, and the other thing that I wanted to mention was if I move this slowly, you can see that in forward, because I don't have a reverse switch hooked up, so the motor is going in forward. Right now, it turns clockwise for forward. I need it to turn counterclockwise for forward. There is a video that I found on YouTube that goes over how to change the engine wiring and the Hall sensors to get it to go basically the opposite direction. Some controllers have a learning switch on them that basically allows you to flip the direction. Mine doesn't. So in order to get mine to go the other direction, I have to change the wiring. So I've finished wiring up the ignition, which works. You'll see if right now the motor works. If I turn the key to the off position, I get nothing. back on. One thing you'll notice, so this one that I got also displays the voltage, so it basically acts kind of like a gas gauge for the battery. One thing is that this actually had 3 wires on it. So what it was 2 of the wires act as the key, essentially the ignition, so opening and closing that circuit, and then the other one was basically finishing the circuit in order for it to be able to display the voltage. And I basically just picked one of the other outputs that was kicking out full voltage on this and put the black in it so that it's completing that circuit. So it's almost like a circuit and a half. It's got one circuit that's being completed to basically act as the ignition for it, and then it's got another one that's being completed that displays the voltage, but they're kind of connected because this one's only got the one connection on it. So the last thing that I am going to do today, or that I have done, following another video that I'm going to link in the description, is I have reversed the motor so that now, by default in forward, it turns counterclockwise, which is what I want for my ATV. I'll link the video. The gentleman who did it goes into great detail describing how to do it, particularly for the hall sensor. But the gist of it is that on the motor controller wires, you swap the yellow and the blue, so you have blue to yellow and yellow to blue. And on the hall sensor wires, you swap the green and the yellow, so that you have yellow, green going to yellow and yellow going to green on the hall sensor wires, and that causes it to go in the opposite direction. Check your controller, because you might have one that's got what's called like a learning sensor or a learning wire on it, and if you follow the instructions for that, you can reverse it without having to do rewiring. But if you have a controller like mine, or obviously like his, you have to do that rewiring to get it to turn the other direction.